Welcome to Red Stars Report, a podcast for fans of Chicago Stars FC and a community for everyone. I am your host, LT.
And I'm your co-host, Liz.
Welcome everyone to the first post-match episode of 2025 for Red Stars Report. I am so sorry if you're a new listener of this podcast because you're looking for post-match Stars content or something. And I promise that when this club wins, we're much happier. However, Liz and I are kind of known for perhaps being a little too positive and sort of seeing the bright spots in losses. So maybe you'll get that side of us today. I have no idea. I haven't really decided if I want to be mean or not. But we'll just talk and we'll see what happens.
We will see where it takes us today. I'm kind of wherever the wind blows me today on this.
Yeah, first I just sort of wanted to let everyone know that if you go to redstarsreport.com now, which is a new thing, you can find both articles related to news surrounding the club, as well as opinion pieces, which will have sort of similar thoughts to the ones on our podcast, if you're not sort of like a weekly podcast listener. Um, so that's new. That's something fun that I think we're going to do this year. Hopefully, it helps those who aren't necessarily podcast listeners, or people can do both. You can listen to us and read our writing. So we'll yeah. Into the recap. Uh, the Orlando Pride have destroyed the Chicago Stars in their first match under the new name, 6-0. I'll repeat that. 6-0.
Woof. Woof,
Let's
woof, woof.
let's give our sort of general thoughts, and then we'll sort of talk about like players, coaching, and stuff. But just sort of overall, Liz, what were your thoughts on this match?
Okay. Where to start? Yeah, it was not, as soon as the game kicked off, you could kind of get the vibe that it was not going to be a good night for Chicago. It was going to be rough. It looked like we were trying to sit back, absorb the pressure, and we were going to try and counter. That seemed to be the tactics that were going to be happening in the game. And when you look at who is missing on Chicago's roster, that's tough. That's a tall ask. We have people on the back line, super inexperienced back line, people playing out of position, people in their second years playing a different position on the back line, like a lot of things. And you're asking them to go against the Barbara Bandas and the Martas of the world. That's tough. And it was very, very rapidly went downhill with a goal in the seventh minute. And I just watched it and it looked, unfortunately to me, as we have constantly talked about in the off season, how we were hoping to see some changes. We wanted to see something. This looked exactly like what we saw last year with the club. And I think that that is the problem. And I'm concerned. I don't want to be like a big Debbie Downer about it immediately, but the fact that we came out and did that and there was no other plan. There were no adjustments that were made. That was the plan and it immediately failed. Not even 10 minutes into the game you're giving up a goal. It was tough. It was tough to watch. But once we get into it a little bit more, I will talk about some of the things that I thought were positive because I did see some.
Yeah, I thought this was probably the most embarrassing performance I've seen from this club in my entire time watching it. I sort of went into this season uh, previewing saying that we'd finish in seventh in the league, and I still think that with everything that's possible, and maybe that makes me sound like an idiot, but I figured that we would lose this match, but I thought we'd actually come in having, like you said, changed something from last season. And it really felt like the same team that finished out 2025. It was just Everything about it just felt the same. Um, I like through the whole off season, you and I were talking about, a full off season and preseason with, Julia Grosso and learning how she can fit into this club and getting players healthy. And obviously that was a major factor in a lot of the situations. The fact that like Ludmila wasn't there because of suspension, the newly signed Maitani wasn't there due to an injury. Sam was active and did come into this match, but was not going to play full 90. Natalia Kuika's injured. It's like there's other factors, but I thought that like you get your first year under your belt with this club, new era, new players, new coach, new everything. And then you get the first sort of full off season, preseason all together, and then we'll go out there and look different. And it looked the same. And I thought that was the most disappointing part of the match was I expected them to lose because Orlando has already played a match this season with the Challenge Cup, so they already sort of have their regular season legs under them more than Chicago would. But I did not, and obviously they're NWSL champions. But I did not think that Chicago was going to lose 6-0. I did not expect that kind of match, and that sucked.
Yeah, it was tough to watch. It makes me sad because it felt like the players were set up to fail, honestly. That's truly what it felt like to me. Going out there with the same plan. We lost to this team in the playoffs 4-1. And I don't know, that was the last game that they played. And now it's 6-0. So it's gotten worse. Like
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like I just it's so hard for me to understand why we know what didn't work last year and why we're doing the same thing. And that's where I'm struggling. And I'm hoping that when we get some of these players back returning from injury, that maybe things will change. I'm trying to stay positive in that regard, but it's really hard to because it seems like that was the plan. Like I think regardless of personnel, that was the plan.
Yeah. And also, whatever that was, the fix is not Mal Swanson. Like, I want to get
No,
that out of the way right
the
now
fix is not
because
Sam Staab. The fix
I'm,
is not Natalia Kuika. Like that's
yeah,
not fixing any of that.
yeah, I'm sick of seeing that. Mal wouldn't have scored in this match. I highly doubt it, the way that everything was sort of set up tactically. And she wouldn't have prevented any of those goals. Simple as that. Now, like, yes, like Sam wasn't going to be the difference and Natu wasn't going to be the difference either, but a healthy Sam Staub and a healthy Natu probably would have made this like a 4-0 or 3-0 match. Like that, maybe
But we
they
were
could
still
have
gonna
deterred
lose.
some goals, but they were still going to lose. But like the Mal being there was not going to change the result of this match. It just wasn't, and it's yeah that in other matches down the line, if she's still not there, she could be reasons, but for this one, not the reason. Like this match was already going to be a tough one, and she was not going to be the difference maker. So like that's not the case here.
Also, the fact that Orlando was their pass accuracy as a team was 89%. Wow. Like I saw that stat and I was like, wow. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to beat a team that's passing at 89% as a club. It's just not going to happen. And this is a team that is leaps and bounds talent wise better than Chicago is as of this moment. And so that in itself, I'm like, it's because we're giving them space. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like when you're giving him space and you're sitting back, you're going to have a higher pass accuracy, but 89%. I get excited when we have like one or two players that are getting 89% pass accuracy, but the whole team, oh my.
Yeah, that's yeah, passing's always been the struggle for the last couple years with Chicago. Um yeah, that's not a fun stat. Yeah, Chicago's
No.
passing accuracy was 75. They only had 200 passes, which is well below league average. They had, what was it? Like 11 passes in the opposition's box. Yeah,
It was
11
bad.
passes in the opposition's box and 55 passes in the opposition half. That's it. That's
Yep.
it. Compared to Orlando's 209 in the opponent's half and 49 touches in the box.
That's right there. Like if you look at those numbers, you don't even you take the team names off there. You give me those stats and you tell me who wins that game. It just by odds, the team that gets that many touches in the box and that many touches in their half is probably I know that people like to make the joke that you got red stars and sometimes we pull out wins when we have like no touches, but
Yeah.
on that's few and far between. Like when you're giving a team that much leeway on their offensive half of the field when they have that much talent, it's a done deal. Like you're setting, and as I said it already once, that tactical formation and that plan, you are setting your team up to fail. And they did. Like they failed. And it's not the player's fault. It is the tactics that are being asked of them. And it really sucks. And I want to say that I don't think that B. Franklin was the at fault. I've seen some comments where people are saying that B. Franklin, because she was on the back line, she played center back. I thought that other than a few times, she had to go up against Barbara Banda. I mean, that's tough. Other than that one time Barbara beat her, fair, it happens. She scored a goal on that one, but it's just the fact that she's going to get beat. She's new, but I'm not putting that on B. Franklin. I'm not. I thought that she had a pretty solid game for the most part. Everybody gets roasted by Banda
Yeah.
in every single game. It happens. Every single, I have seen Naomi Gurma get roasted by Barbara Banda. I have seen Emily Sams. I have seen, you name me the best center back out there. I've seen them get roasted. I've seen Sam Staab get beat by Barbara Banda. So to say that it's B. Frank, I just want to make that clear to me, like to people that, in my opinion, B. Franklin wasn't the problem. It was the tactics of having them sit back and absorb pressure that was the problem.
Yeah, I thought B did fine for the most part, being someone who she got what, like a few minutes at center back last season, played a little bit in college in the first part of her college career. Um, and to be in your second year in the pros and be asked to go play 90 minutes at center back against the best attacking line in the league, and to only really like get absolutely beat um once and get like allow a little more past you in other areas, but if anybody else I thought in the defensive midfield, any second year defensive midfielder for any other team got put at center back against Banda, I would expect 3 or 4 goals from Banda. Like
Right.
I would even maybe expect her to get that many goals against B when I saw that she was at center back because, like we said, she's new. So someone who is starting for the first time at center back in their pro career, Banda would score those goals on literally anyone. They were great goals. The one that she nutmegged her, that sucked. The other one was the Justina Gaynor turnover that Banda just took at the top of the box, and no one's gonna stop that. Then, like, if you step to her, she's going to go around you. If you don't step to her, she's going to take an impossible shot and hope to make it. Nair was off her line. Whoops. Like
Also, not
everything
her
else,
fault.
also not her fault. Everything else was fine. Like I'm not going to put the blame of this loss on B Franklin. I wouldn't put it on Hannah Anderson either. Um, she had the own goal, which if she didn't even stick her leg out, Banda would have put in the back of the net anyway. And then she did have that moment where Banda did pop the ball over her head, and then it was up to B to either pick cover Doyle or cover Banda, and she picked Banda, and Doyle scored. So I don't know what you want. Like
Yeah.
there's those two center backs had an impossible task, and whether or not this match ended up 2-0 or 10-0, um, it was gonna they were gonna lose regardless. It's not. I think these are two very talented young players who are best served. Um, One of them not playing center back, perhaps, or maybe not getting her first minutes at center back against the best attacking line in the league. And Hannah is best served when she has a veteran next to her, not someone who's playing the position for the first time. When Sam's next to her, when Carrie's next to her, she plays a lot better. So yeah, moving on through the season, I'm not worried about Hannah Anderson. Um, and I'm not sure what they're going to do with B now that Sam is back. I don't know how many minutes Sam's going to play next week, well, we can talk about that because we kind of mentioned it, but we never actually like said the full thing. Is the biggest news of the night was Sam Staab made her return after 233 days after an Achilles tear. Uh, Never once has come off the bench in her career.
I loved that stat. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, Iron Woman had her first major injury of her pro career and came off the bench for the first time. Came off the bench as a midfielder, which was probably the weirdest part of this return. I'm happy that Sam's back. I hope she's at center back soon. Liz and I were talking about this before we hit record. You want to sort of go over your thoughts on why you thought that Sam was sort of in the midfield?
I kind of went on. It would have been, we should have recorded that because I kind of went on a little rant there. I was upset. I don't like it. I think that it's a lot to ask of somebody coming back from such a serious injury to get thrown into a game where you're behind, you're not going to win, and throw them into the midfield, especially when they are center back. Like that's their role. The only reason that we both agree why that happened is, and we've talked about this in the past with Sam Staab, is that she's really good at breaking lines and making good passes up the field. So my only thought is that we were doing that. Lauren was doing that. I don't want to say we because I don't want any responsibility for any of that because I think it's stupid. But anyway, so she could maybe get the ball down the field to the forwards because that was not happening in the game at all to try and get a goal back, get some goals back, something like that. That is the only thing that I can possibly think was the reason. That is the only logical thing in my head. If it is any other reason other than that, other than, well, I just wanted to put her out there and that was kind of where I thought, and that's that. Like, no, that has to be the reason. And I'm hoping that that's the case. I still don't like it because as we were talking about before we recorded, she went down, like she was on the ground
First
immediately.
touch, she went for a loose ball and was on the ground immediately. And I was like, oh, like she got up immediately, but I was like, I did not need to see Sam colliding with another player in her first minutes back from such a serious injury. And yeah, we both agree when we were talking before we were recording that the only reason that she would get put in the midfield is because of her ability to break those lines and her accurate passing. Her touch as expected, looked off. Her passes were not that great. This is expected from a player coming back from such a major injury. I did not expect her to just be in total game form right away. Um, yeah, so I'm really happy that Sam's back. I think her coming back this early is a major sign for the club's future this season. If she can come back to 90 minutes or even 60 minutes fit to play center back in these upcoming matches, I would be elated because her and Hannah in the center are far more cohesive unit than anybody else that um, that the Stars can throw out there currently. Um, Her and Natu at center back were elite, but I'm fairly certain that when Natu comes back, she'll just be the right back and we'll move on with our lives.
Yeah, I'm curious when my Tani comes back from injury as well, what's going to happen
Yeah,
at the center back. That's the thing. Like we're talking about players like Kuika is going to be back here at some point this season. Staab will be back, hopefully more fit as we go on this season. And my Tani, not sure on the timeline of her coming back from her injury. Uh, our defense is going to get significantly better. Like when all of those are back, significantly better. And so I don't know where my Tawny's going to play with Anderson and Staub, Quick. Like I'm curious to see how it all shakes out. And so we'll see. I'm very interested to see what happens. I truly do like your idea that you threw out the other day of popping Hannah Anderson out wide, playing her at outside back, and going my Tawny and Staub at center back with Kuika and Anderson on the outside. That's a very solid back line, like
I like
super
it.
solid back line.
I
I don't hate it.
I obviously we've seen Maitani play center back for Gotham in their championship year. We haven't seen what she can do for the Stars yet, being a new player and being injured right away. But if she is training at center back and comes back and they want her to be a center back, I would not be upset if she is the center back with Sam Staab, only if Hannah moves over and takes over Taylor's spot. Because I think those four are a far better back line than anything else that we can throw out there. Because if any of those other players need to sub out for any reason, any of them can move into those other spots. Like if Maitani has to come out again or Sam has to come out again, Natu or Hannah can move into center back. Like that, you don't need to sub people in those positions. You can just slide people over. Um, and I know the defense technically on paper is thin right now. Uh, we clearly saw it based on the match on Friday, but I think down the line that seems like a fun idea to me. Um, I would like to see it. I doubt we'll see it, but I think it would be interesting. The other players on that back line, um, Cam, I was a huge fan of Cam last season. I really wanted her to earn minutes last season, and she did earn minutes when she played in that Summer Cup. I thought she played really well to end the season, and then obviously with the injury to Kuika, there was an opportunity for her to be in that starting lineup. It was fine. She played a little too attached to the center backs, which left a lot of space on the outside, which were then filled by Mies, which yeah. So that sucked. Like her positioning was not the best. But she was literally just doing what she was told to do. Um, but her confidence to just sort of go at people and attack them, I think is fun. It reminds me of other players that have played on team before in those positions. It's just I like players that are not afraid to take on others one on one. And that's kind of how she is. I like how much she goes to ground to get tackles and stuff. It like she's a good player. It's just she was sort of set up for failure in this one.
Yeah, I think that both outside backs struggled in the game as expected. I'm not trying to say anything. I think that with that being said, there are spots to be earned by if other players step up. We did see Justina Gaynor come in this game. Didn't not for very long, but I would be curious to see how that's all going to play out as we go. Because as we said, we kind of just threw some players out there, and we could see a totally different. Who knows? By the end of the season, we could be talking about completely different players,
Yeah,
like we did last year.
yes, we talked about this in our season preview with the fact that the starting lineup of the first match of the season was completely different than the last match of the season. And yeah, you're right about the outside back spot. It's sort of like a whoever can sort of earn their spot there can play there right now with how thin it is. And yeah, I've gone back and forth with Taylor in the past. I think it's a little unfair to go out there and go after her for the first match of the season against the best
Yep.
team in the league. But obviously, we need more from our outside backs. And yeah, Justina Gaynor came in, sort of had her welcome to the NWSL moment right away, turning over the ball to Banda, leading to that
I
goal.
mean,
So I loved her aggressiveness. I loved her effort. That's how she was in college. That's how I expect her to be in the pros. I'd like her to see more minutes in substitution just to sort of see what she can do against teams that aren't as dominant, to sort of just get a little more experience under her belt. But yeah, that was a bad moment for her, but she'll bounce back. She has a good attitude.
next week, I'm more gauging on next week, this next game, the Houston
Sure,
game.
sure.
I feel like we can obviously glean a lot of stuff from this Orlando game. You can't say that it doesn't count because it counts. It's in this, we're now at a -6 goal differential. That was what I was thinking about when I was watching the game. But I want
Yeah,
to, before we jump, I know we're going to jump to the midfield, I'm assuming next,
yeah,
but before we
yeah.
do that, I would love to say just one thing. Even though they lost 6-0, how wonderful was it to see Alyssa Nair back out on the pitch?
I it's I I'm gonna twist it. I'm gonna twist it almost right away. I feel bad. Um,
Yes, but I like to
obviously,
see her on the field.
yes, obviously, post match, she came out and basically took the blame for herself, saying that she needed to save more shots and everything. That's fine. That's her mentality. She can do that. But yeah, going from not seeing Alyssa Nair because she's not with the national team anymore after retirement to then seeing her back on the pitch. Every single minute that we get with her is now a precious moment, and I will cherish every single match that she plays because I need her to be out there for as long as possible.
But we do feel bad for her because she is also being set up to have to be ridiculous, and it's just impossible.
Yeah.
What's being asked is impossible, and I felt bad for her, and she deserves better, and it's frustrating. So I hate that she had to come out and say that it's her fault because it was not her fault.
Yeah,
um
the we talked about this last year a lot. The reason that we don't necessarily sit here and, you know, just go after the defenders and Alyssa every single loss is because everything else that's happening on that field is just leading to the defense constantly having to be played. Like they do not get a break. They get no breaks at all. Um, so once you get into the latter part of the match or even earlier, these defenders are not the freshest legs out there. They're not the like they have no time for their brain to even relax. They are constantly trying to make clearances. They're trying to constantly make stops in front of the goal blocks, and they have to defend how many corner kicks a match because of those clearances for balls that go down the goal line. It's
12.
like it's
12.
yeah, I think they had 39 clearances in this match. So that's crazy. So when you're doing that much for more than 90 minutes a match, it's not going to be easy to sustain a score line of 0-0. It's just not going to happen. It's like I don't know, throwing a starting pitcher in baseball out there and expecting them to pitch 9 innings every single time they go up. It's like you can't expect them to be that ready every single time because every athlete needs um, some sort of break before they get back to work. The forwards get it on
They got a
teams.
big old break this
They,
game for the most
but
part.
hey, well, they were playing defense too.
Yes,
Um,
but it's different.
yes, when you're sort of playing that lone striker position like Allie was, she's standing up there waiting for the ball almost the entire match and then running to play at the top of the box if the play is sort of breaking down within Chicago's box. So it's hard to watch. But I don't sit here and blame the defenders or blame Alyssa for having to go through that onslaught week in and week out last season, and I'm not going to blame them now for having to go through that. Um, yeah, it's a problem that sort
Yeah.
of comes from the midfield.
Perfect segue.
Midfield, Liz. Let's talk about the
All
midfield.
right, let's go. I got this. I can start us off here with this. So my biggest thing that I've noticed, and this was last year, that is to me part of it's a very large part of the issue. When you have midfielders that like to drop back immediately and bail out of the midfield because they're you're constantly getting the onslaught of pressure from the other team and you're bailing out all the way to the back line immediately. Like you're not even holding ground. You are bailing and you're playing 5 back, 6 back at times. You are leaving so much space. You vacated space, which then allows those offensive players to get right at the top of the box and they have acres of space and time. You can't close down on them because you're out of position, but you're panicking because you're like, well, I got to get back because they're gonna come at me. So I don't know if we are being coached that we need to bail out, but I can't I can't see it anymore. I don't want to see it anymore. I can't walk, and I don't want to call certain players out. This is not my plan, but Kerry Recaro, almost every single time Orlando was bringing the ball back or down the field, was bailing to the back line. It was leaving that space right in at the top of the 18 was wide open. And that's where they were getting offense from, was right there because every time it was bailing and it was a 5 back, bail, 5 back. And people, I was in the Discord, were like, well, why aren't we closing down on players? Because we're bailing out instead of stepping to the players. If you step to them, I know it's scary to step to a player like Marta, step to a player like Banda, step to a player like Ali Watt. That's scary. I get it. But if you can somehow disrupt them while they're bringing the ball down the field instead of in the final third, you have a better shot at stopping whatever's happening. But if that is truly what we are doing tactically, we are in for a very, very long season. It's not going to go well because we are just giving up space. We are just bailing out and giving up space and saying, okay, you can pretty much dribble the ball into the final third and we'll try and figure it out. And our marking is also awful, which is part of the problem. Then when it gets into the final third, we don't mark anybody, and then problems.
Yeah.
Rant over.
Yeah, finally this midfield looked to sort of come out with three midfielders, which we have been begging for all offseason. A six, an eight, and a 10, a lone six in carry. And it did not work out. Yeah, they left
Because it
so
was a fake
much
out.
yeah, they left so much space between the midfield line and the defensive line because she was either playing way too high when the ball got lost. So there was just the defense playing behind her with that large amount of space, or she was playing on the back line, leading to Julia trying to or being late to fill that space because she was playing up higher, like we've been hoping for her to. But there were so many times where they would even fall back into that double pivot because it felt sort of like a
Homes.
yeah, it felt like home. It felt like a safety net, just like a let's go back to doing what we were doing defensively last season because it worked out for the most part, which yeah, there's no balance. That's the problem is, yeah, last season, because they played the double pivot and they had, for the most part, great defenders on that back line in the beginning of the season, the defense was working out. It was pretty good. They were not letting up as many goals in as they were the previous season. But that led to the fact that they were not getting into the attack more. And the whole attack tactics last season were sort of just play the ball over the top, skip the midfield, and make the forwards run and score. And that was not going to happen in this match. And I don't want to see it in this season either. Um, but if you're sort of falling back into that, what works defensively, you're not going to be able to sustain any sort of consistent attacking pressure through the season. They got 8 shots off in this match. There were 5 blocks, 2 on goal, very weak shots. And most of that came late in the match when Orlando wasn't pressuring anymore. That was a huge issue, was Orlando's ability to press the outlets in the midfield. The ball would mostly went to carry, which would then just lead to the outlet after that being back to the back line. Um, Julia, I don't know where she was in this match. I think she only had like 20 something touches. Uh, not good enough. Shea, same thing. Um, I like the ball's not going to get down to your attacking midfielder the way that we were playing in that way. Um, yeah, I don't know what the thought process was with what they wanted to do in the midfield. The broadcast said that Lauren's plan was to get things going down the middle because Orlando's defense on the outside is fantastic. But I there was nothing happening down the middle. The ball rarely ever connected between Carrie and Julia and Shay and then the forwards. It rarely ever happened. So yeah, it just like last season, we start off the season with a messy midfield game, and I don't know how to make it better. I am not necessarily yeah. Liz has an idea. Maybe it's one that I just don't want to say out loud.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, do we have, was what was happening the choice? of the coaching staff and the tactics. If it was, then that needs to change. If the plan was to play high or bail out, and that was the plan, then that needs to change. If the plan was to not do that, and we have players doing that, then either they need to stop doing that. And if they won't stop doing that, then there needs to be a personnel change because that's causing issues in the midfield. You don't have a midfield. You have a five back or you're having four up top is pretty much what was happening there. There was no in between. And so if that is, it's one of the two things. Either it was a coaching decision that was the plan, or personnel on the field are doing what they think is the better choice given the situation that they're in and they're making the wrong choice. I don't know. I don't know which one it is, but I think that has to be addressed. I did love the fact that they were attempting a three midfield. And I say attempting very, very loosely because I don't think it actually ever happened.
No.
But it looked nice on the graphic. It was a nice, it was a nice thought. To me, it was definitely more of they were playing kind of a 4-2-3-1 ish kind
Yeah,
of.
just like
It
last
was,
season.
but it was
Certainly
kind
at
of a
the
hot
end, they
mess in
did.
general. It,
Yeah,
it was just to me like it was even hard to tell what they were doing on the field at times because there were so many people back. It
right.
was just
Obviously,
dropping.
formation, like when you talk about formations, there's different sort of shapes when it comes to when you don't have the ball, and then there's different shapes when you do have the ball. Um, when when whatever Orlando's possession was, when 70 something percent of the time you have
64%.
when you have
And I think that's
64% of the time without the ball, um, your shape is everyone's in the box. I
yeah.
don't,
Everybody's back and
it's
it's hard
not
to
a,
see.
yeah, watching Nadia and Mies almost play like wingback positions. And then Ali just sort of at the top, waiting to get the ball down the field, was frustrating to watch. As I said, that was mostly due to the fact that either Taylor or Cam were attaching themselves too much to their center backs, but that's because Orlando's forwards were um, sort of diving on the inside while Orlando's outside backs were pushing way up high on the field. So then our forwards had to move with them because our outside backs weren't covering them. They were covering the players in the box that our midfield wasn't covering. It was just domino effect. Everyone had to move because of whatever decisions. It was not fun to watch. As I was about to mention earlier, at the end of the match, it looked like we even sort of went back to the same formation uh, as last year, when Orlando was playing out of their back. We had Catberry and Mana Hayashi sort of playing, like both switching into that 9 position, because that's how Chicago pressed um, in the season last year, and so formationally, that's kind of how they did it in this match, and it didn't work out as well. Yeah, something needs to change. We said it last year. We're saying again this year. Something needs to change in that midfield, and it's like it has to happen. Um, and yeah, whether that's tactics or personnel or both. Like something, if that midfield doesn't get resolved, it nothing's gonna change, results wise. And the thing about last season is if you were questioning whether or not the club could see that there were problems in the midfield, the Julia Grosso signing was your answer because they were trying to get one of the better midfielders in the world onto their squad to fix the midfield. And that also didn't work. I'm still hoping that she can work it out. Like maybe that's a tactics thing. Whether that be, I don't know. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done ranting. The point is the midfield needs a change. And hopefully that happens.
Yep, I agree. I was excited though to get Ashi some minutes. I think that's a no pressure way to your career. Yeah, losing, but coming in, getting minutes, going for it. Why not? Um, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the midfield.
Yeah, I mean, I will talk about Mana. I know that she sort of has the skills to be a good pro. So I'm hoping to see more of her, hopefully sort of further back in the midfield, maybe the eight, maybe the six. Not necessarily in the attacking midfield. I imagine maybe they put her there because of her size, perhaps. She is the smallest player on the team. And this team sort of seems to like taller sixes, obviously with B and Carrie being the primary ones that they've used. I don't think the 10 is her natural position. I would hate for her to sort of uh, get into the habit of playing as a 10 and then later in her pro career be moved back to her natural position. And then she would not have the same level of experience in those positions as more veteran players do. But all three of her passes led to shots, though. So that's nice. I'm all for that.
Positive. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think there's a lot of positives to take from that and just go with it. And I'd like to see her play in the six. I think that's where she fits. I don't know. I get that they like taller sixes, but obviously it doesn't really. It's going well as it is. So why not try something different?
Yeah, I don't know about I like obviously last season we used a lot of rookies in starting roles in the latter half of the season. Um and I don't know, like the personnel on this team is so strange to me. And it also leads me to people's comments about like Chicago's off season and their signings and stuff and how they and the stuff about like not getting like the top college talent or whatever. It's like, what do you think these college rookies are gonna do to solve this team currently right now? Um, like that's not gonna make a difference unless you're literally signing maybe like the top college player in the world. And yeah, it's so like maybe you can talk about like their ability to not sign certain free agents. Um, but when it comes to the college stuff, I think we just need to move past that because no college player is gonna come in and immediately resolve um, this midfield or whatever. So it's just
Now,
not gonna happen.
one player is not going to fix this entire thing.
Yeah.
It's a tactic thing, and tactics change. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're the best six world in this team. You bring best mid. If this is what choice is of what you're doing, it does not matter. It simply does not matter who you have.
Yeah, I agree. The forward line, I mean, there's not much to say about the forward line. Because there really wasn't anything for them to do other than play defense. I like, I don't, I,
Nope.
I don't want to I don't want like this to be taken in any sort of like mean or negative way, but I don't know why Nadia Gomes is in the starting lineup to start the season again. She did it at the beginning of the 2024 season. It didn't work out. We're doing it again. I, I don't see how her coming off the bench is a problem. I don't know. Like she doesn't feel like everything that she's done in her pro career right now does not like make me think starter on this team. Um, she's a bench player, and that's fine. You can be a bench. We've talked about this at length with certain players. Um, that it's not bad to be a bench player. Certain players are just better at going out there immediately and making like energetic impact to start matches. And I didn't feel like she brought that last season. I don't feel like she brought that in this match either. And I don't know what in training the coaching staff has seen that we just haven't seen on the field yet. We obviously saw her score a couple of goals in those scrimmages in preseason, but she hasn't brought that in the regular season in her first year as a pro, and she didn't bring it. I mean, it's kind of hard to bring it in this match, but yeah, I didn't understand it, and if I don't know if she'll be there during the Houston match either, but I didn't understand the call. I just didn't get it.
Yeah, Nadia Gomes this game, she just didn't really do much, in my opinion. She looked like she was out of position a lot. She looked like she played last year at the beginning, which was not re acting like it acted. It was seemed like she didn't really know where she was supposed to be at times. And I get that that's a tough ask when you're on the front line to be playing more defensive, but if you're playing for Chicago, that's what you have to do on the front line. That's what is required of you. It doesn't matter who you're playing. And against Orlando, it's tough. It just was not, I don't get it. I agree with you. Don't understand it at all. Don't understand playing her. I would have much rather seen a player like Sarah Griffith get that spot. I think that she could play defense. She's going to do those sort of things. And I feel like she's a player that has a knack for being in the right place at the right time. And she's definitely willing to take on players and trying to progress the ball down the field. I would like to see that. Obviously, we're going to have Ludmila moving forward, so I'm hoping that maybe we'll see her slot in and we'll have that same other two up top with Schlegel and Joseph. So I don't know. I'm hoping. I was not a fan. Didn't understand it last year. Completely do not understand it to start this season off either.
Yeah, it felt strange that it was like they tested it out in the beginning of last season. Clearly, the coaching staff was like, "We need to try something different there." The rest of the season, we barely saw Nadia, and then to start the season, she's starting there again. Um, I don't know what the coaching room's like. I don't know what the forward room is like. I don't know what training's like. So whatever they see, we clearly don't see. Yeah, I let and obviously on the other side, Mies had the same task and was also unsuccessful in the attack. So it's not all on Nadia. The fact that there were no goals, and then Ali as well. Like nothing was getting to them. Therefore, there were going to be no goals in this match. It was a problem. Now later in the match, we have the debut of the youngest player to ever play for Chicago in Michaela Johnson, or known as MJ, number 23.
Love it.
um, I still love it. I still can't get over it. Yeah, so MJ comes in. Uh, if if Ludmila wasn't coming back next week, I'd say even start Michaela. I know she was only able to sort of make the plays high up the field because Orlando really wasn't pressuring as much late in the match. So there was more room for the ball to even sort of make it to Michaela, but her skill on the ball was so fun to watch and was making some like seasoned vets look foolish. There was a point where she was taking on three players that sort of moved into two players as she went to the left of the box. And then she did a beautiful turnaround and then ran into five players and then still made it past them to get a shot off that was ultimately blocked. But I was like, here's this 17-year-old who just took on the entire Orlando defense. And at the very least did not turn it over. Just she got a shot off. It got blocked immediately by a defender. But the fact that she didn't get the ball taken off of her feet by any of those players was great. Her stride is amazing to see. The way she pivoted at the top of the box during one of her other attacks to get a shot off was like I'm like, I don't feel like I'm watching a 17-year-old. Like she just has so much confidence out there. She just exudes confidence, no fear from her. And I loved to see it. She should be at the very least the first sub off the bench next week if she's not in the lineup. I'm with you in that if Ludmila I would have rather see Sarah to start this match in that spot. Ludmila's obviously going to be on that front line come next week. And I wouldn't imagine they'd bench Mies, and I don't think they'll start a 17-year-old, but from what she's just put in the first few minutes, I'm very happy that she signed a 3-year contract because I like this player a lot already. Like I'm all for MJ coming back to, to Chicago. I need every second of it.
Yeah, I everything that I saw, I was impressed by. 17 couldn't you could fool me. Like absolutely wise beyond her years. You can tell that she's played at the youth level for the U.S. women's national team. And she wasn't scared. She wasn't scared by the moment. I know that the game was out of hand by the time she came in. Still, I don't care. Making your debut as a child in a pro league is scary. And it's not a home game. You're playing away against the team that has Marta and Barbara Banda and all these people. Like that's a lot. It's intimidating. And so she went out there, no fear, took on players. I love the footwork. I love the speed. I all I was envisioning was how wonderful it will be with Ludmila Mal and MJ out there maybe at some point all together sometime would be wonderful. I couldn't imagine. That's a speedy front line.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. I loved every moment of it. I can't wait to see what else she has to bring. And she just seems very crafty. I love the confidence, as you said. Just solid player.
Yeah, I think our community also found her as one of the probably the most entertaining part of that match. She did win the Red Stars Report Discord's Player of the Match for week one of the NWSL. Every single match we do after post a poll in our Discord for Player of the Match, we list every single player on the team. We do not just give you like a broken down list of the players that we think are possible. We let you choose anybody that you want. And this week people chose MJ. So yeah,
And don't say we didn't sign somebody. That narrative is garbage because look at what we got. That is a signing.
that is
That
a
is a
signing.
that is a big signing. And I think in a couple years we're going to say how big of a signing that was. I really do.
Yeah, Justin, would she get like 15 minutes out there or something? I was already impressed, especially with who she had to go up against, and like you said, in an away game. So yeah, her home debut, if she gets into the match next week, should also be entertaining. And I'm ready to watch it. This may become my favorite part of the season is watching MJ play.
Number 23 is back in Chi-Town.
Yes. I love it. I love it. And speaking of next week, the Stars will play against the Houston Dash in the 2025 home opener. The match is on March 23rd. That's Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Time. You can watch it on NWSL Plus or Paramount Plus. If you're not at the match, it's also on Fox 32. So that's the first time that Fox 32 will be doing their local broadcast for the Chicago Stars. So check that out if you're in the Chicago area. Houston lost 2-1 last week or this week against the Washington Spirit. So not a surprise. Washington's a very, very good team. The 1000th player in NWSL history, Maggie Graham, did come in and score off the bench for Houston. So that was pretty cool. I still think Houston will be a better team this season than they were last season, given the pieces that they added in the offseason. So it should be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, can't wait to see it. I think this will be a good barometer for the club. I think Orlando is just Orlando. So watch that, done with it. Now the Houston game, let's go. I want to see us compete. I want to see us possess. I want to see us move the ball down the field and get more than 10 shots, please.
I think it was
That's
eight
that's
shots.
well, no, I'm saying more. I want more than 10
More than
because
10. Oh, okay.
I feel like
That's your
10
goal.
was
Okay.
roughly 10 was I feel like our average last season.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I need more than 10. I would love 15. 15 would be wonderful, but I feel like that's a big ask. So I'm starting off low and I'm going more than 10.
Okay.
And so I feel like if we get MJ out there, I feel like we're going to get more than 10.
Yeah. And Ludmila will be
And
back.
Ludmila
So
will be back. So I'm hoping that we create some offense, and I think that we will be able to get more possession um, with playing against Houston than we did against Orlando. And please continue with the 4-3-3, please.
yeah, don't just scrap it because it didn't work out in one match. But yeah, that the midfield of Houston is very good. They signed Danny Colaprico this offseason. She was probably one of their best players for Houston in that match. 34 for 37 in passing, 92% accuracy. That's the kind of player who scares me against the Stars and who I wish was in the Stars midfield because I really wanted them to bring Danny back, but they didn't. Uh,
Same.
Sophie Schmidt, Yasmin Ryan are also in that four-player midfield for Houston. Also very good players. People are obviously recognizing Yasmin's game a little more, that she's gotten several caps with the U.S. Women's National Team. So look out for that midfield and see how they sort of compare to the Stars in this upcoming week.
It's gonna be fun. I have some thoughts on how they're going to go after Houston. I actually put it in my Substack article that will be coming out this
Well,
week.
look at that. Yeah.
So read that.
Yeah, go to redstarsreport.com and you
I'm
can check
plugging
out
it.
Liz's thoughts.
I'm plugging it. I'm gonna make you go read it. I won't share it here.
Yeah. Little teaser. Go read her article on redstarsreport.com if you want
Yeah.
to find out her thoughts on more thoughts on Houston's
Yeah, I'm going to
matchup.
break down what I think that they're going to do. I think it's going to be a better game. And if it's not, then we've got to have there's got to be bigger
And then
conversations to
we're
be
gonna
had.
talk about this again. She's got to come back here and listen to us again, and we'll say similar things.
All season.
Please no. Yeah, that's all we have this week. I know it was a lot. It was a lot to talk about to sort of break down this whole performance. Um, make sure that you subscribe to our channel across all podcast platforms and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you leave a like so others who love this club, as we do, can find our content. Don't forget to join our Discord. We have our match chat in our Discord, which people just talk in throughout the entire match and then also post match. Go to redstarsreport.com to keep up with the news and more of our opinion pieces between episodes. We'll be back next week to recap that match against Houston in the home opener and to talk more about the Stars this season. So we'll see you next week for another Red Stars Report.
And get a win.